what if we did Atlantic puffins while exploring how to lay out things on a nature journal page, but have the topic be the Atlantic puffin, a critter which I have never seen. So I'm now going to go to, I am going to go at Atlantic puffin, and I will, hold on a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how, kind of when I'm kind of looking for resources and things, some strategies that I use. So you can watch my little Zoom search here as well. Puffin. It's over here. All right. So I am now going to do a screen share. And my desktop share. This can hide. All right. So, this will be fun. Actually, I'm going to hide some of these floating meeting controls, hide the video panel, hide the floating meeting controls. There we go. So we'll be puffining out over here. What I will do is I'll go to Google, do a Google image search, and then there is this little tab here that says more. Oh, sorry, not more. I want tools. So these little boxes here that says tools. I like to hit that one because some of the pictures. Actually, let's get new window, and we'll just do Atlantic puffin here. All right, hit more images, go to tools, and I go to size, and I just get rid of all the really small ones, because that way I know that on any of these I'll be able to zoom in on them and get something that is really useful. And so while we're at it, I am going to add in a couple other resources. Birdpixel.com is a great website for bird photographs. And I'm going to go to at puffin, and I'm hoping no puffin. Aw. Maybe I spelled puffin wrong. Are there two F's in puffin?
There are two F's. I think you spelled it perfectly.
Wow. Hey, check out me and my spelling. Let's go to seeingbirds.com. And type in Atlantic puffin. Oh, there are going to be some puffins. Aw, well, Google image search it is. All right, so there's lots of fun stuff going on here. And so what my general approach when I tend to start sketching, let me show you what some people do, and it's different than what I do. And because I am not, let's hide that. I tend not to be as organized as some people. Some people, when they are starting a nature journal page, imagine this being the page. There's your page. they will, on that page, create a little layout. I'll do a little bit of a layout in advance of sketching things. So they'll think to themselves, I'm going to have a title zone towards the top. And they'll lightly kind of give themselves, then I'm going to have a vertical bar going down, and then this section I'm going to break into two parts. And then, so they'll give themselves a little layout like this. And then when they are going to be sketching things, they'll say like, all right, so maybe, you know, I'm going to have one little guy here on the rock, and maybe some little writing about it. So they'll put some object in that space. They're going to put you know, maybe there's a puffin and it's looking at me over here, and some maybe written notes in there. And then down the side, they'll have a series of kind of quick sketches of these different poses and things. And then they'll work on a nice little title here. So they're planning ahead. And sometimes what people will do is, you know, this can be fun just to, you know, give yourself, basically, I love the idea of just sort of regularly kind of, you know, shaking up our mental Etch-a-Sketch. So what you can do is you can think of just sort of playfully, like what are some different kinds of layouts that you could have on a page. And then you're just going to give yourself some scaffold lines. You do not have to follow your scaffold lines. If you change your mind later on about what you're doing, that's totally fine. So on this one, we're going to put a title down the side here. And I'm going to go for a small, a medium, and a large box. All right. On this next one over here, I'm going to go for, what might we do? I'm going to go for a big circle, an overlapping medium-sized circle, a small circle here, and then a couple of boxes like that. You know, what's kind of fun about this is that doing these things, just a few of these little frameworks in different ways, you give yourself something like this, it will just make your brain kind of play with whatever you're looking at in a slightly different way. Just going to suggest that you avoid this layout. Meh. Why do that when you can do all these other sort of things? You know, then, you know, you get your little picture of the puffin here, and you've got a little puffin sitting in the middle of your page, and on to the next one. And that's, and you know, this, so the nice thing about these sorts of ideas is they kind of get you doing different sorts of things. And if you look at a journal page and you say, wow, that's got amazing composition, you know, take a look at it and sort of see what are they doing. Generally speaking, in terms of composition, either on a page or composition within a single drawing, the general rule of thumb that I use is I'm going to try to avoid having the elements on my page, that could be the sizes of the boxes, being the same. I want to avoid sameness. So I want to avoid sameness in here I've got a vertical and a small, medium, large. Another way of thinking about it is just the general principle of Papa bear, Mama bear, and baby bear. So if there's a page, I can have a Papa bear. I have a Mama bear and a baby bear. So this one is kind of more square. This one is more long. This one is smaller. And I want to think of the size of the elements. It's also sometimes fun to think about just sort of the nature of the negative spaces between these. So notice in the way that I did this, that this width in here is similar to this width, is similar to this width, similar to this width. Although I've got a variety of sizes of things, some of my negative spaces are kind of monotonous. Let's just use that same page layout right over here and just break it up a little bit. So what if I have this? You can play with how little elements overlap. I think that's a little bit more interesting because my negative shapes are also doing something a little bit more interesting in there. And if you start off with, then what you do is you're out there and you're kind of like, oh, dude, check out that little puffin on the rock. It's being really cooperative. All right, I'm going to put, maybe start working on that little character there. And then let's do a close-up of, there's that one over there. It's got some fish hanging out of its beak. And maybe this is just going to be the cliff face with a little puffin sitting on it. In the ocean back there, little landscapito perched in there. You can think of those the locations of the pictures. Then when you start writing on it, there's a tendency that some people have then, or what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill up all the rest of this space with, I can write here. But you can also think of your writing itself as visual blocks. So what if I had So I'm also, and I'm going to leave some places where there's empty space, giving some places for your eye to rest in all of this will do two things. One will make the page more visually interesting. The other is that it is going to make your page easier to scan later on. Here's a subtitle. Now, so that's planning ahead. So I said, I'm going to interrupt this with Just one other thought. Select a camera, select a different camera. Go to this time. All right, where am I? I'm over here. Hi. All right. Now, the purpose of nature journaling is not to make pretty pictures. And now we're going like, oh, we got to get a good page layout. Right? We're not trying to add another whole level of stress in this, but thinking about your page layout can be useful if A, it's fun, B, it makes you enjoy it more, and it can also be useful because sometimes just having a little different of a page layout, it's going to make you fill out that page in a different way. And because you're doing something differently, that's going to be useful in getting you to think differently. So sometimes just, if I usually start by drawing a picture of something and I start by counting things or writing a poem, that alone is going to make my brain be engaging with that little observational experience in a totally different way. All right. But if this makes you feel like, oh, now there's this whole other thing that I need to be thinking about, and that causes stress or anxiety, just let it go. The page is not the thing. It's the experience of being there in nature. That's the thing. The journal is just a tool that we use to get us to pay a little bit more attention to the world. And if you like the idea of having this sort of more of a composed page, great. If that's not your thing, it's totally okay. All right, so sometimes planning ahead, good. Sometimes, but if this adds stress to your package, right? My general experience is when I get out there and there's a puffin, right? I'm going to be so blissed out with a little puffin that I'm not thinking like, I think I'm going to draw a circle over here, and I'm going to draw a square over here, and I'm going to draw a few little boxes down the side. I like that composition. I'm going to move that little box over there, right? Maybe I do that ahead of time. Or usually what happens is I come out and I open it up. Oh, one other thing about putting some of these lines onto the page at the start is that sometimes if you have anxiety over facing a new white blank page, having something already on that page is good, because you then open the page and there's already something there saying, look, here's a space where you can put something in. And you go like, I think I will put something in that space. But don't let this get your chonies all bunchy, right? So now, let me show you what I usually do, because I have a tendency not to plan ahead. But sometimes I get pages that look like it was intentionally planned, but that kind of planning usually comes on after, not before. So I also want to show you how you can sometimes get a page that looks planned if you didn't plan. Right? And we're going to be using those same principles, the Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear, on the idea of just the elements on the page will be different, different sizes, different shapes, different values, different is good. Let's look at how that might look. We're going to imagine we've gone out to a place where we can see these cool little puffin hanging out. Let's go, not that way. Oh, what's happening? Oh, I see what's going on here. I see what's happening here. My camera has resized. All right. So we're heading out there, and we see this lovely little puffin. We see this lovely little puffin. The if your Google image search doesn't have these view image buttons here, there is a plugin that you can download. This used to be a part of it, and then they took it out, and then people made these little plugins that you could put back in. So just type into your search bar sometime, not during this class, the idea of type in view image button in Google image search, and you'll load this little thing onto your computer, and then you can just click this button, and it makes that, it doesn't open the whole website, but it opens that photograph. Isn't that nice? So you're not having to go, I just want to see the photograph. And so that's a nice little feature. So I'm out there, we're like, oh my gosh, let's look at this. There's this cool critter. And let's say I start just drawing. So I'm drawing the kind of the air next to my little puffin friend. Put in a little ball for its head, and then blocking in my little buddy. You've got a cute little tail sticking out there, some little wingness, and your legs are kind of coming in at an angle, which is cute. Looking at the negative space between these, and there's a little puffin foot over here, and there's a puffin foot over here. Aw. And the middle line of the head is here. The eye line is here. So that means that the beak is going to be inserting here in the face, and the tip of it is down here. So I'm going, where does my beak come from? It's in this vertical line here. Where's the tip of it? It's here. Okay. And there's where my beak goes. Get some negative space in here. There's going to be an eye somewhere in there. So I'm blocking it in. And so this one, you know, maybe I've got a, you know, the general kind of no-no in composition is to have just the focus of whatever you're interested in be right there in the middle of your page. And look at this, right in the middle of the page, there's my big puffin. So right now I'm just so distracted by the puffin. I'm not thinking composition on my puffin. I'm thinking, isn't it amazing to see a puffin, right? And so we've got a little puffin eye. There's an interesting thing kind of going on with the shape of that eye over there. On the little, this widow's peak in the middle of my little puffin head, noticing that the angle that comes down on either side of this beak is different on either side. I'm going to pop out this little puffin cheek a little bit. And the bottom of that comes to the bottom of the head. Then there's a little bit of a neck. Okay. So I'm happily kind of drawing along, and we're going to take a look at kind of what compositionally I'm going to do with this great big puffin in the middle of the page. And what does the chest angle do? It comes out a little bit and then it comes down. I will sometimes make my puffins or my whatever critter I'm drawing a little bit more angular than I'm seeing, just so I can get my brain to kind of wrap around these changes, and then I can kind of smooth that out. And we're tucking back in. Somewhere in here, there's another corner. That is a really good looking bird. On this closer foot, I'm going to put a little more detail in there. Not so much on the back foot, which helps push it into the background, but I will put that in shadow. Speaking of the shadow, where does that go on here? Somewhere in here, there's the shadow of this. Getting the patterns of light and shadow are going to be really, really helpful for kind of rounding out your little puffin friend. There's kind of a puffin blocked in the middle of this page. Now, if I stop there, I now have a puffin in the middle of my page, and I can go on to the next page. But then I'm kind of doing that composition where we're talking about that. Yeah, the composition where you've got the little puffin in the middle of the page. Let's avoid that composition. It just sort of feels static. It just means look at the puffin, and then what do? You just kind of go on from there. Let's think about how with something like this, I can now actually let's continue on. Then we see this other puffin fly in. Another puffin flies in, and let's say that it's got all this crazy fish dangling, and I'm thinking, whoa, that's crazy. Look at that. How do you get them without like letting the other ones go? What's going on with you? You're nuts. Wow. So I'm really excited about this. And so I'm going to now draw a puffin head over here. Here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to have this puffin head sketch, because I've already got an element on the page here. I'm going to try to get this puffin head sketch to be a different size than this sketch. So if I do my next sketch and it's this big, then I'll have two elements that are the same size. So now I'm just beginning to think of composition fairly loosely here. And I am going to kind of address that by the next element on the page. It's going to be a different size, right? So if I make this big, all right, and it's got fish that dangle down, that's going to work for me. So now let's block this head in. It's kind of flat across the top. It's got a flat back. Its beak is coming down to a low point here. And there's sort of the beaky part. The eye is in the little, it's closer to the top than it is to the bottom. And it's kind of in the center of that space. And But there's more space to the back. So what I'm going to do is I kind of like this, whoops, let's come down here, kind of like these proportions that are happening out here. So what I can do is I can just push the back of my head further back here. Here's the new back of my head. All right. And so then I can have this little white triangle behind, and that head will be big enough. So I had already put a bunch of detail in here. Instead of erasing that, moving the eye, I kind of liked that spacing. And so I just moved the back of my head back. At the start, this kind of a sketch is really, really plastic. On drawing something like these fish that are coming down at a sort of an angle of fish here, all right, I like to think of, how do I draw those? I'm going to draw not the biggest ones first. I'm going to draw the ones that are on the top of this pile first. So if I have, I'm going to put in this little fishy here. All right, I have another little fishy. So the ones that are in the front of this, here's another little fish head, roly-poly fish head. Eat them up, yum. So I'm putting those ones that are kind of on the top first. Then I'm going to draw this little dangler. And I'm going to draw another dangler down in here.
Oh, Jack, there's a request to move the page a bit lower.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so I've got all my little fish friends hanging out there. So what I was doing is I was doing the ones that were closest to me first, and then I tucked the rest of those little fish nuggets underneath them. I'm going to lock the focus. Manual focus. All right. And then what's happening with this crazy beak? It has a little flat part. It's got a curvy part. It's got a little cool yellow corner of the mouthy bit in here, the fish that's going to partly obscure that. We are coming down. The beak kind of comes out, and then it changes angle down. So it's not just a gentle curve. There's an inflection point in that curve. This part is orange, and an inner part is gray. Now, this is kind of interesting. The forehead is this little kind of a little bit of a swoop in there. Black. Sorry, my big hand obscuring that, kind of getting in the way. And what does the bottom do? It kind of just, it comes around in a big arc. And then I'm going to slow down on this eye a little bit. So there's a big triangle. And the eye. Let's count those fish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe 12. About 12 little fish. And then I'm wondering how do you, this is kind of a big question for me, so I will, sometimes I put my big question marks in at the end, but I'm gonna put this in advance because I really like this question. How do you catch more with fish in your mouth? Sometimes you can address your questions to the critter, right? Instead of how does the animal do this, you can ask it. Makes you just sort of feel a little bit more personal. Now let's zoom back up here and we'll zoom up even more. So kind of taking in the big page. Right. So there is, now I want to, let's just get a bunch more sketches on here. And so I've intentionally got a big thing, a medium-sized thing. And at this point, I might start to think of, so compositionally, what might be fun. What if I kind of just got a little strip here of just little gesture sketches? You know, here I'm going to write in a few more kind of written notes. By the way, anytime you don't like a part of a drawing or you want to just get your brain to think differently, start adding in written notes. The minute you make your drawing more of a diagram, the less art pressure there is, and also the page just becomes more interesting because of the density of information that you now have on there. All right, let's just go for, you know, little beasties are waddling around doing their little puffin things. I'm just going to do a bunch of fast little gesture sketches of some of these puffins. Oh, I think I need to refocus. Camera, white balance, manual focus, there you are. Off of that. Ah, that's better. Now let's lock it on again. So and then I look over and I say, like, oh, look, there's a little group of puffins over there. Let's get that little puffin group. Oh, the puffins are like they're doing little puffin headbutting. I think that's awfully cute. So I'm gonna just over here, I'm gonna say like, wow, these little puffins, they kind of, they do this little head buddy thing. That's neat. And my beak is down, kind of crossed beaks. Aw. Is this courtship behavior? Need a little head press. What am I seeing? How does this? Kind of neat how the whole leg, the leg is on the ground. Yeah, that's cool. It's not a very active pose. I'll just do another little fast sketch here. If they're making any vocalizations, I'm going to, like it's going, that is a really cool beastie. Yeah, I can write down any kind of notes that I'm making about that. Throw in another, just group was looking super cute here. Hey, what you looking at? How close do these little beasties like to sit to each other? So I'm going to do these. If I make my puffin smaller, all right, I can make puffins faster. Nice bracelets. It's a good look. Yeah, I'm part of a study. Very erect posture. So I'm going to write a few notes about this interesting erect posture. So here I'm just trying to get the general proximity of these little puffins to each other. Interesting that there are 3 of them, so they can't be just a mated pair, but they are hanging out in a rather civil way with each other. So there's this page with all this puffin stuff going on. HR. And what I did is I started off with one drawing, then I intentionally made something that wasn't that size. And then I went for intentionally, just here's a bunch of little gesture sketches or kind of quick sketches that are kind of visually become a unit. And then what that does is it gives me a variation of sort of sizes of elements on this page. Now I'm going to do, so as I was doing this, I first just went, oh, I'm going to do this. A little bit of thinking here, then a little bit more intentionality putting these in. Now I'm going to think of what else can I do visually here to have some fun with this. Do I want to have a title on this page? If so, where would that go? Would I want to put that up here where we expect to see titles? Do I want to have that down the side here? Those are always fun. What about a bottom title here? I think I'm going to do a bottom title. So I'm just going to leave a place for me to write in Atlantic Puffin or the name of the rookery, or with titles. If you can kind of get something that makes you chuckle, like a bad pun, all the better, all the better. So especially on titles, bonus points if you make yourself giggle. So I am going to call this one, I'm going to have HR, I'm going to write Puffin stuff. When I was a kid, there was a little show called HR Puffin Stuff. And here's my chance to use that in the title of a poem, of a title on a page here. And so I've just blocked in where those letters are loosely going to go with this pencil, and then I'll go over that later and kind of turn that into something. But that now becomes a placeholder. Check this out. I am going to make, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put a circle around this. Actually, if I put it there, see how it just is tangent with the head of that one? I try to avoid tangents. Things that are just touching are no-go zone for compositions. I either want this clearly touching the other puffin, or I want it not touching the other puffin, clearly not. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that that circle is going to come down into the head of that one. That's going to visually unify those elements up there. So this is, I'm just sort of blocking in, where does my circle go? And I'm going to put a little bit of background in with this puffin. So I am going to imagine, now how am I going to do that? It's got that big circle behind it. I could put some background back here. I can put some background back here. I like to have my puffins, or my whatever I'm drawing, not be, I'm going to put it in here as a little bar. There we go. I'm going to put this puffin standing on a big block of background. So what do I mean by that? Let me show you. Let's go back to this puffin here. And show you what I'm up to here. So here is, and it's going to be some grasses here. They're going to kind of hang out of the picture frame. There is another rock that is sticking up here. Oops, that's not where the end of that is. That was some of my writing. And this there you go. I like the idea of having a dark background that will pop out that light looking chest of my little puffin friend. So I am going to put in just a dark blue gray back here. And my little friend is going to be on these rocks with all these lichen. It's pretty cool. There's some kinds of lichen that do really, really great in high nitrogen environments. And so pay attention to the lichen that you see in kind of bird colonies, because sometimes it's these nitrogen philic, nitrogen loving lichen. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow in on this belly before I put in the real darks on my little puffin friend. And there's some shadow down there. Like that big bleed out there. Stay back, you. I'm losing my focus on what I was talking about. We're talking about composition here. So let's get back into thinking about that and what I'm going to do. So I've got, this visual element. I then have this little row of things down the side, and I can I'm going to paint that little puffin, but I also just want to show that by with some of these other elements, I can use those just to create graphic forms that kind of unify an area of focus. Similarly, here I've got all these little sketches down the side. What if there is just sort of a blush of color, kind of getting white next to some of these, getting white next to, or dark next to the white of these tummies is really fun to do. So that has then unified this as an element, this as an element. You see, I can add by adding things like frames. So this is a little frame. Sometimes I'll make kind of the border of one of these frames just a little bit darker. You get the feeling like this sort of arrangement was much more planned than it actually was. And so I call this kind of composition where you kind of create your composition, and then after the fact you kind of use some frames, and whether that's putting some color in it to unify these things or putting a little box around this. I call this post-hoc composition. So after the fact composition, or once your hawk flies away, then you are creating your composition with your post-hoc composition. I'm going to, then here I would start to make my, just have fun with bubble letters. I'm not going to do them all. But what if I had HR here? So I'm going to do my H with a really kind of low bar in it. And then I'm going to bring my R down to that low bar place. HR, and then I would write my puffin stuff across there. So my HR is now coming up into this other box. Make the top of this one come up a little bit higher so it comes more clearly into that little box. That's then overlapping that. And it's going to start to feel like you intended this all along. But it really just sort of came about by you initially getting some stuff down on paper, then creating boxes and things to connect those. Oh, one last point. You also think of, if you're going to be writing on these pages more, the shape of the area that you're writing in, plan that out of advance. Don't just sort of write into any blank spaces, because then there's no sort of negative spaces. Think of like where I'm going to get where do I want my negative spaces to be? I'm going to, let's see, I want to do a little bit of writing, so why don't I fill up that space there? And I'm going to also fill up a little block in here, right? So plan ahead of where I am going to now. Oh, here's another thing you can do on your writing. If I'm talking about these puffins here, I'm going to do a drop cap. I'm going to use the word puffin. I'm going to start with a great big P, and then write, puffins are super great, and I love looking at them. This is the first time that I've seen puffins in this area, and I really want to come back and study these some more. I was so excited to see them bonking their heads on each other, and blah, 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 blah. Right? So that then this becomes a block, also a visual block of what is going on the page. And that's a little bit of thinking about puffins, and a little bit of thinking about creating compositions, either planning the composition ahead of time or kind of on the back end running into a composition. But I just want to stress again, the purpose of keeping our nature journal is not about the journal itself. When I really kind of get into the weeds of composition, I'm in danger of kind of creating a fetish out of my page. And if that slows me down, if that makes it less likely that I will be journaling because I'm now feeling pressure about that, let that whole business go. But if this feels like, oh, I kind of like the way that I might be able to, this is a new thing to play with. Let's play with that, right? That's great. That's great. Then let yourself play with it. But don't feel now pressure of like, I've got to make my puffin look puffiny, and then somehow the page has got to be a big composition. Again, the important thing is that you're sitting on a rock, you're smelling puffin, you're smelling all the fish that they pooped out on that rock. You're kind of feeling the wind on your face. You are experiencing puffin activity, and so just be there with those puffins. But I hope that some of these strategies perhaps can be something that you can, in a playful way, engage with, and that it adds to your joy instead of being like another thing that you're somehow supposed to be doing. There's very, very little supposed to in nature journal, right? I would say maybe if I am going to put some things supposed to on our list, I'm going to stick kindness in there, perhaps stewardship in there, and everything else is up for grabs, right? So see if this floats your boat, or puffs your puffin. Let me now bump over to the community gallery. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments, or ideas about what we've been looking at here that you wanted to share? If there's a page that you've messed with that in the past that you kind of like, wow, this would be a good thing to contribute to the conversation. I saw that Daniel, Walters, and Terry all raised their hands, and so we'll go in that order. We're going to start with you, Daniel. You can unmute yourself, and I'm going to add you into the spotlight here. It's good to see you again, sir.
Good to see you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
How would you go about adding a shine or a sheen to maybe a dog's fur or a cat's fur, from natural lighting?
Well, actually, let's do that on the puffin here, because sometimes, the puffin's feathers are really, really reflective. And so you'll get a little bit of shine off of them. Maybe hold that up a little bit higher. Hold that up a little bit higher, maybe about 4 or 5 more inches up, so we can see the back. You're getting your albatross on here. Oh, that's fine. A little bit higher. Yeah. And so you want to kind of get the feeling like there's light hitting on the back of this.
Kinda.
Okay. So let me just, for a moment, I'm going to bounce back to my little puffin friend and check this out.
I also did this. Okay.
That's such a gorgeous bird. I love these birds. Patterns around their face and head also really interesting. That's cool. Right. Daniel, check this out for just a second. I'm going to minimize your screen for a moment, and then we'll bring you back.
Okay.
All right. So right now, this is looking really, really flat. It's black, right? I want it to look like it's got a little bit of shine to it.
Right.
2 easy strategies for doing that. One is the lifting out, and the other is the white pencil. Which do you want to do first?
Well, I tried the white pencil. It seemed to work.
Yep. So I'm going to put a little bit of a hint in there. Let's zoom down on that. Right. So a little bit of a hint in here. I'm going to put a little bit of a hint of that kind of coming into here. And then I'm going to make I have to wait for this to dry, actually. I have to wait.
It looks like you've already done some work on that, on the back.
Yep. So if I let this dry, I'll be able to draw on this with my colored pencil much better.
Okay.
Colored pencil does not like to go on top of a slightly damp surface because it pushes into the paper rather than leaving a mark. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lifting out approach. And what I'm going to do is make sure that this brush is clean. And then I'm going to come into the back here where the sun is hitting, and I'm going to give it a few strokes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And, it's gotten that damp. I'm going to come back and.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Cool.
Now,
cool. Okay.
Isn't that a kind of a nice little, put in a little bit there on the neck. All right, and let's put in just a little hint of that on the forehead. So what I'm going to do is you'll see me stroking back and forth, sort of zigzagging back here. Initially, that's making the paint mobile. And then I brush my brush off. And then I'm going to come back with a cleaner brush and lift out that. And there's a little bit of light dancing on the head of the bird.
Yeah, nice.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that helps, yes.
Great, great.
By the way, I saw the moon last night.
Oh, let's see what you've got. Oh, nice. That's really cool. Yeah, last night I was snuggling with Amelia and Carolyn, and we looked up and we saw the moon outside the window, and they were saying like, "Oh boy, you know, they're aware that the eclipse is coming, and so they're thinking just in a few days that's going to be full."
Yeah, but this was a half moon.
Yep. I like, hold it up just a little bit higher. You can see the whole sketch. And you're doing it the same way I do. I like to draw in the circle of the moon,
Right.
and then I sort of put what part of that is blocked off. I think that's a very effective way of kind of getting some of these more useful shapes.
Right. Yep.
Great.
And the next bird I want to try and draw is a red-tailed hawk.
Oh, those are fairly complicated plumage, but gorgeous, gorgeous birds.
Gorgeous bird, yes.
There's some really nice red-tailed hawk photos on seeingbirds.com and birdpixel.com.
Yeah, yes, there is.
Daniel, thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure thing.
Let's go see what's up with Vulters. Hey there. I'm going to, you can now unmute. And I'm going to, I'll let you, hey there.
Hi, yeah, I wanted to ask, some people were already asking, but how do you often get your composition right and put the colors in when you come home from a trip or from a walk? So, because it takes time to think about where the notes will go and to put the colors in. So I often just sketch and even don't write. And then when I come home, I try to remember some things that happened, and I just have the sketches. And then afterwards, I put in the words and colors.
Yeah. So I also will run out of time sometimes when I'm out there in the field. And anything that I can kind of get in and as fast notes, I might be able to fill more in later. I find very often, though, there's so much going on that if I say to myself, I will come back to this later, I don't. And so what I will often try to do is get in the moment as much as I can. And then I don't have this feeling of like, oh, I need to finish my field notes, right? Later on, though, and you've heard you've heard us talking about the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve and how kind of reviewing an experience helps you kind of reinforce that experience. Later on, if I am able to go back and review those notes, I don't think of it so much as kind of going, but I'll kind of go back in and maybe put in a title, or I usually am not doing my title in the moment. I'm doing that sort of later on. Titles, subtitles, drawing in googly eyes, exclamation points next to my favorite, a few of my favorite things, and putting in some boxes. This really helps me think back on the experience that I had. And just as we've sort of seen with that Ebbinghaus curve, that then takes that experience, refreshes your memory of that, and then it's going to be sticking with you in a much better way. But let me grab another sketchbook, and I'm going to just flip through an old sketchbook, and I'll show you like a bunch of places where I did some of this kind of post-hoc composition. All right, I'll be right back. Stepping over here. One minute, almost there. It is Where is it's in a Rwanda sketchbook. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. So sometimes this kind of post-hoc composition, it can be very, very simple stuff, and a little bit goes a long way just to make people like, oh, that was all intentional, but it wasn't. It wasn't, right? So let me show you some good examples of post-hoc composition here. I'm going to minimize your screen for a moment, and then if you want to share anything, we'll bring you back in. All right. So, excuse me, Birdie. So, I'm in Rwanda. I am observing termites making little tunnels up the sides of trees. And this was the stuff that I did post hoc was the stuff with this brown pencil. So I chose a color that was kind of predominant in this. And then what I did, that I used that brown to make a box around these enlargements. And then that, otherwise it just looked like this was the same size as this, was the same size as this, the same size as this. I had all these little elements. What it did is it took these little elements and made them into a medium size element. And then I circled this, put a box around that with the brown pencil and wrote termites with the brown pencil and put in some of the metadata down here with this brown pencil using a color that was there. And then it looks like there's kind of this unifying hasp of brown pencil that pulls that page together. Let's take a look at, then I felt so pleased with that. I did more of it the next day, right? So here is observations of this termite mound. I put a box around that, Papa Bear, and I also just put some brown hatching in the corner just to make a little bit more of that brown color on the page. I put a box around this and overlapped it with this. And then a vertical title also in brown, and put a little box around my favorite questions, around the queue of my favorite questions. Here was the scorpion that ran across the floor at night. And I was kind of looking in this moonbeam and I saw this little scuttling thing, and I got out of bed and found this beautiful, beautiful scorpion. And so it was all these things different size, but then I just wrote scorpion and then put in a box around that, a little circle around this, so that you get the Papa Bear, the Mama Bear element in here. And then I took that same brown pencil and I retraced this posture and this posture. And just all that being there in the brown pencil makes this, especially like when this stinger thing where it says stinger and it's kind of in a circle, that, I mean, it feels like, oh, that was all intentional composition, but really it's like, oh, I'm really cool. This is really neat. I love drawing this. And now I'm drawing this, right? But then I put this little circle around it and it looks like this was an intentional kind of compositional decision. Here, this mouse bird is on these green plants. I picked out the green and wrote spectacled mouse bird, colored in mouse bird. Here it is nibbling a leaf. And this ends up in a big green box. There's a smaller green box around that, metadata then written in also in that green pencil. And because there's that sort of hasp of green across it, it then feels like, oh, that's on purpose. Here's using green again. A little green box here with the fruit bats. Big green box here, just uniting this whole thing as an element. Yellow frame. let's see here. Here is just, I had a bunch of different things on these pages, but before I drew this big brown circle using a color of the back color of the paradise flycatcher, it just sort of felt like a jumble of stuff. But then I put this circle in, and then this stuff is all united together. And then this Shrike business out here then feels like this whole, like I've got a circle and a horizontal bar of, I've got a flycatcher, that zone, then a zone of this. This was just putting one box around all of these related things around the Malachite kingfisher. And then that's a big element next to a small element. Whereas before, it had been a whole bunch of drawings that were all the same size on the same page. But then the minute you put in this box, this becomes a large element next to a smaller element. Here's just going crazy with blue boxes. So this box here unites this heron with this name. Over here, I have one box. Here's another box for a different kind of kukal, two different types of kukals. And these boxes overlap. And notice that this one is intentionally a big box. This is intentionally a smaller box. So this is all just using colored pencils as, look at, yeah, this is cool. This page was all these little sketches of all roughly the same size, right? Visually confusing. And then I put in the African jacana box here, and all this is unified into one nugget. And the page becomes easier to read. Without that, it would be, it's much more confusing. This was another set of pages, all these birds, all roughly the same size. So I'm out there, I'm not thinking about composition. I'm just going like, oh my goodness, it's a bee eater. Bee eater, gotta sketch me a bee eater. All right, then sketch another bee eater, then sketch another bee eater. Oh, there's some room to do the wattle eye. Okay, and then all these things were scattered all over the page. I pick a color that is in the back of the paradise flycatcher and in the chest of the bee eater. And then with the brown colored pencil, I drew a box around this and then a box around these. So these guys, the bee eaters, get their own little bee eater box, the paradise flycatcher. And then the things that are not in a box, those, not everybody needs a box, because some people are in the box, other people, they're like, oh yeah, you're outside of the box. Right? So that's kind of an example of kind of post-hocking. I'm going to add you back in the spotlight. Was that helpful, Walters?
Yes, thank you very much, because I did this page a couple of days ago, and it's just, there's 3 separate observations here, and they just blend together all.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm thinking if I would separate this from this and this somehow, because they were even done in different places. This was in the forest, this was in the mountaintop, this was in a again in the forest zone. So I'm just thinking of how to
could we see that closer? Could we zoom in on that page? I'd love to take a closer look at that. Ooh, this is cool. This is really, really neat observations.
These are called Tade bungalows. And Tade is a mountain volcano. Volcano. Thank you. Yes. Volcano. It's the volcano here on the island of Tenerife, and this is a endemic to the national park. And there are just these massive plants with these beautiful small little red flowers, and they are starting to bloom now. And I tried this technique at first, did an outline with a pen, but it did not seem to be working. And then with outline, I just put the watercolor in. So that seemed to work a bit better, because here it looks too plain, sort
Mhm.
of. So
Yeah, this is
yeah.
a great example of a place where a post hoc little frame uniting kind of common elements. You'll see that that will then hold together visually.
Yeah.
That's
This
cool.
on this one was bit better composition. This was a little comic of a wimbrel catching a crab. So it first found it, then it took it to the little pond. It tried to drown it or something. He put it in the water, and then he, with an elegant throw, down the hatch. So
Oh, that's neat. And so notice that so these elements are different sizes. And so that also kind of helps with that composition. Yeah, that composition works really well.
yeah, so I think I'll try to do something about this page, because the observations are pretty cool, and I just want them to be more organized. So
That's neat. Yeah, you can sometimes put in what something that I like to do is I also, as I'm drawing in, sometimes I'll put a title in and then have that title overlap that box, you know, saying, you know, here are these bungalows, right? That's going to be really fun. That's going to be cool. Thank you so much for sharing that.
thank you very much.
All right, let's check in with Terry. Terry, you may unmute. And let's see here. We're now going to add. Oh, hey there. Good to see you. Chloe, it's great to see you again. Hold on a second. I'm going to, there you are, spotlight. Oops, I spotlighted the wrong thing. Chloe, it's great to see you.
So my toads and so also we caught another toad, which I think is actually a frog, and we named her Julia. So she moved before I could finish this drawing, but
Oh, check out Julia. Hold the still for just a moment, and we'll check out. Oh, look at its toes. Julia, you're checking out those froggy toes. Those are so cool.
here's the best one that I think I did. I did it yesterday. This was Bernard, but it kept hopping before I could finish any sketches. And
yep. And then there it is with the legs all folded up. What and also what a great little 3/4 view sketch of that little frog all cuddled up.
yes, and actually, apparently Julia can color change as too, because when we first found her, she was more gray, like with a bunch of like white kind of stuff. But then it started like 2 days ago, like 3 days ago or something. And she started turning greener and greener, and now she's like all green.
Ooh, oh, what a great observation. Did you make little, it might be fun to, while the colors are still fresh in your head, get some colored pencils and make some little color swatches of just saying it started this color and then it turned to this color. And that will help you then be able to remember later on, because years from now, it might be hard to remember, you know, what shade of green or which came first, the brown or the green. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think maybe why she changed to green from gray to green was because the stick that like I made this kind of like platform for her because she's really good at climbing. And on the stick, it has this kind of green stuff. So I think maybe she turned green to maybe like camouflage herself.
Well, that's a really, really good thought. So you're wondering if there's brown stuff in there, is it the frog going to turn more brown? If there's green elements in there, is it going to turn green? And you're wondering if it's matching its color to the environment around it. And another really kind of interesting piece with that is it's fun to think that different animals, sometimes the spectrum that they're seeing in is different. So this seems to be matching what we see with our eyes. And I wonder if a lot of other mammals work that way. I wonder if we had visions like birds, which can also see part of the ultraviolet spectrum, if the color matching would still be accurate like that. That's a really cool set of observations. Could we take another look at that little drawing where were showing the shapes of the toes of the frog? That really, let's put that up again because here we go. I really wonder if this was a little tree frog.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it was a tree frog or maybe at least related to one or something. And right here, I tried to show like how it was clinging onto the stick.
Wow. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Chloe, this is really, really fun. And it's interesting that little kind of how it's sort of sideways on the stick, right?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. Wow. This is really fun. Really, really fun. Great observations. So both you and Jack are finding cool amphibian moments. That's really, really neat to see. Thank you so much for sharing that, Chloe. Is there anything else that you wanted to show us?
One more thing. This was the one that I did last Tuesday after week's Ask Jack. This one's probably the best one of all these. Was the back of Bernard. I wanted to show how cool the pattern on him was. And then that was what the cage used to be, but we got a bigger cage for him.
So you're showing the details on the back, and you're also showing the setup that you have for taking care of these critters.
Yeah, well, that was before we got Julia, and then we got them a more bigger cage because Julia likes more hop and also getting more.
That's fine. And also, it'll be. Does your new cage have like glass walls that are easier to see through?
No, it's actually a very, very large butterfly cage. We just don't have any other cages, so, and it seems to be working fine.
That's great.
And
wonderful.
I also got the book that you recommended last week.
Oh, good. Isn't that a fun book?
Yes, I was looking at it in the car on the way home when we got it, and they're really cool. Like, this is one of my favorite parts. It shows the rabbit hopping.
What a great way to describe it. And it's neat how in these parts where the legs change position quickly, where it's kind of landing and gathering, they've got lots of little sketches there. And then in the kind of extended suspension part of that leap, fewer sketches. So it is really sort of making sketches in the parts where it is moving the fastest. That's a great way of visualizing things. I also like that cross section of the nest. These are just brilliant illustrations. Yeah, folks, even if you don't live in Missouri, get yourself this book because the illustrations are brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and actually some of the animals in this book might actually live if you don't live in Missouri, live where you are, because I'm not sure if I can find it, but it also shows not just where they live in Missouri, but also where they live in the North America too.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, it's really cool.
That, yeah, I love that book. I'm glad you got that. Is that checked out from the library, or do you guys get to keep that book?
I bought it. Yeah, we
Great.
bought
Great. That's the kind of reference book that you're going to use again and again and again and again. That's a really solid purchase. Chloe, thank you so much for sharing all those observations with us today. We want to look forward to kind of checking in on the adventures of Julia the Frog.
No problem, and thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, that was really fun. Let's join Susan and then Anne. Susan, you can unmute, and I'm going to spotlight you. Hey there.
Hi, I hope you can hear me well. I may have to try a different day if you can't.
We
can you hear me?
you very well. Very
All right,
loud.
good. I had to go outside to find a place with good Wi-Fi. Yes, hi. So I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I'm not a birder. I'm a butterflyer. I'm not in denial about being a birder. So anyway, here's some cool birds I saw.
Great. Oh, I can hear them.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, yeah, there's all kinds of birds out here. I'm on my college campus. Yes. So yeah, there've been lots of interesting birds. Let me see. Sorry about I'll try not to make everybody seasick with with my moving camera, but here we go. So I went on a walk at the Albany Pine Bush to learn about woodcocks. And it was very cold that night, and so we did not really get to see many, but I learned about them, and I've subsequently gone out several times, here's butterflies by the way, but I've gone sometimes to watch for American woodcocks doing their courtship flights.
Oh,
Let's see if we
wow.
can see.
Yes.
So
yes.
I don't know if you guys have, I don't think you guys have woodcocks out in the West.
No, we don't. We don't.
But they're very cool.
That kind of look like them, but they.
Yes, I think it's the
it's like woodcock
snipe
light.
we have here too. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I don't know if maybe your snipes also do the same thing, but it's very, very fascinating. They go out just after sundown, and if you go out to sort of, apparently they like sort of open spaces with maybe not too bushy, but near the edges of woods and things where they live, and also not too far from wetlands where they can find their earthworms. So you gotta go to the right place, but the Albany Pine Bush is full of the right place. So I went out there just before sundown, and I thought, let me like try and actually plan ahead for once. And so I made a little bit of a sort of a landscape of where they were. I had seen them in this area on a previous night, so I kind of had an idea of where I might see them. So this is kind of compressed, and then I just stood there and I waited until after sunset, and it was still a bit light, and I saw the silhouette of a woodcock fly down and land on this spot right here.
Oh, that.
And I tried to look at it with my binoculars, and I could see a sort of a lump. So I was being requested earlier for
I love this little journey through the air.
Tips for nature journaling at night.
Yeah.
It's light enough. I could see the first few flights. And what they do is they go out, and you can hear them out there, and the males come down and they sort of wait until they've got a female's attention. They go meep, meep,
Meep.
meep.
Yeah.
I timed it about every 2 seconds. Everybody, I've been told that they call it the peent, but it doesn't sound like peent to me. And then eventually, when the girls are looking at them, they shoot into the air with their wings whistling, and they apparently it's not chirping; it's their wings, in fact, whistling. And I could see them; they make this big, huge circle around. They go so high up in the air, I could follow it for a while, but eventually kind of lost it up in the sky. So but you can hear them because you can hear the wings whistling. and then eventually they come, and so it's going all the way up, and then it comes down, and they sort of do this very erratic sort of. It's great, very excellent noises, and they sort of come spiraling down, and they usually land right back where they started, and I guess the girls are impressed.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and
So it's fantastic. Yeah.
Is it outer tail feathers that are doing the vibrating?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Isn't it outer tail feathers that are doing the woo, 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 woo?
What I have been told from this from the talk that I went to is it's actually the first 3 primaries, which are different shape in the males than the females, and they're sort of thinner. I need to like go back over there and like see if I think they have some like wings and things that they sort of have on display that I might be able to take a look at. But the first 3 primaries on the males are very narrow, and apparently that's what's doing the vibrating and then making the whistling noise.
Wow.
As I'm not sure if it sounds a lot like mourning doves, and I don't know if a mourning dove.
That's really neat. That's
yeah. So I'm gonna turn the page.
That's interesting because I think maybe I think of snipes. I think snipes, it's the tail feathers that are vibrating, but you're saying that in the woodcock, it's the wings. How?
Yeah, I mean, I'm only going on what I've been told, but by some experts on it, and yeah, and so the whole talk we had like some pictures of the males and females, and you can see that the wings are clearly different shaped than the others it is. So I was hoping, and I tried to like get myself all set up and make myself some little boxes for some landscapes to trace the path, and then in the end, I couldn't see well enough even with the white pen to be able to see, but I did try and get also just some silhouettes of whatever else I could spot and hear while I was out there, because it was getting dark very rapidly. So
I love that the one that's leaning towards you with fluffing up those it's coverts. That's really cool.
I don't know what you're seeing.
Oh, I'm seeing the red wing that is leaning in at you.
I was actually thinking this was this different day, obviously during daytime. And I went out. I thought, oh, I'll draw the red-winged blackbirds. I actually went out to see if the eastern-tailed blue butterflies were out, because as I say, I'm a butterflyer. I'm not a birder, but I'm not in denial. But the eastern-tailed blues were not out, but the red-winged blackbirds were. So I took that to me. Trying to make use of your great lessons, and I sort of immediately like made a bunch of little sketches and immediately wished that I had tried to make some different sizes and sort of save some space for a bigger, more detailed sketch if I could get one. But now I've kind of have some notes on their behavior and noticed that even though they all jump around and trade places, a lot of times different birds will come to the exact same perch and do the same sort of calls. So I'm going to take advantage of that, because I'm definitely finding, the birds I can draw from life when they're right there are much less detailed, and it's much more difficult than drawing them a photo. So I need to practice. So it was really hard to get some. This is really the one I felt was the most successful. Yeah, trying to get all the different calls that they make. And this was really fun because
just one quick question for you. Mm-hmm. For your night ones, before you went out, did you pre-paint those pages with a light gray so that you can kind of get a night effect and have the white show up on it?
No, I bound this book.
Oh, that's right. You've got your own
white paper, toned paper, and some watercolor paper. And I just fortuitously happened to fill this page, and then the next page was a toned page. I thought,
yeah, that's great. That's cool. This is such a great way to describe behaviors and show things are going on. And Ivea was also pointing out that cool diagram that you have of the butterfly flight path.
You make a big loop around. Yes.
Wow.
This was a different day.
you're currently, your camera has, I think we have lost Susan. We'll join Susan again, should she return to us. Let's join and let's go over to Marin County. Oh, Susan's back. Susan's back. Susan, hey there.
Hi. Oh,
Good to see you.
Hi. Hello again. I'm so sorry. I'm on my college campus because I have to do the final exam in about 30 minutes. So, and the Wi-Fi is a little questionable. So I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
But yes, so I don't want to take too much time, but I had just a very cool opportunity to. But if so, this at this little wetland is mostly the red-winged blackbirds, but there's all kinds of cool cool critters. And I noticed we had some, oh, sorry, just turn my camera again. Excuse me. So we had some little spotted sandpipers.
Oh,
which I have seen before.
Yes.
Yes, they're so great, and they go. They sort of wander around. They're bobbing up and down. And they go beep beep beep. Very cute. So this was really cool situation. All of a sudden, I'm watching the sandpipers. They're all like on the shore, kind of picking around at the things. All the blackbirds are all calling. They're doing all their different calls, and they're noises they make. All of a sudden, all the blackbirds, all of them go kee 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 kee, and they all just start screaming all at once. And the sandpipers responded to that and flew back to the pond. And next thing you know, this little teenager comes flopping down to a stump in the pond. And so they're looking around, very disappointed, I think, because I'm sure he was looking for a meal and he didn't find anything.
Yeah.
And actually, he sort of looked around for a while and he kind of gave up and left. But
that's cool.
yeah, so it was really interesting because I've heard of the fact that, you know, birds of different species will respond to another's alarm calls, but I had not actually witnessed that happening, and that was so cool because the sandpipers like clearly were like, oh, the blackbirds are calling, let's go. So
yeah,
yeah, and so that was pretty awesome.
That's a really neat observation. You know, Susan.
And I will say this one was done from a photo. I took a photo of it, and I because I ran out of time to actually try and draw it.
Yeah, you know, the first bird is free.
Yeah,
and,
no, it's like this.
Then it's a slippery slope. Pretty soon, you're gonna be a birder. It's gonna happen. So
you know what would be like the sign that maybe you've gone too far is when you start pulling over on the side of the road because you see some interesting roadkill. So I guess trigger warning for roadkill because. This was sad but also really cool. I was driving along the road
so cool.
Just a couple days ago, and I saw, look, there's a turkey on the side of the road, and it was in a place where it would be safe to get out of the car and go look at it, so I did stop. I was not going to do it on the side of the road, but I'm like I gotta go check out this turkey. So I actually managed to find like a place to park, walk back to this turkey. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, obviously it had been killed by a car, obviously. To look at a wild turkey up close. So it is really, I've said, who needs peacocks? They're really gorgeous. So that was really fun. I got to just like stand there and just like
iridescence in there. Look at that iridescence.
Yeah, I was really trying to. So this was cool instruction. It was copper on one side and green on the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that's weird that it's not symmetrical. Like, why is that? So then I started kind of like sort of looking at it from different angles, and I realized, yeah, if I see it from one angle where I'm kind of looking like down the feather, the sides of the piece of the feather on the top, then that side is copper and this is green. And if I look at it from a different angle, then it switches.
Oh.
So structural color is really cool.
Yay, structural color.
Oh, yeah, so it was
so much
really awesome.
fun. So much fun.
Yeah. So this was, I mean, it was pretty sad. I also got some very strange looks from people driving by. But you know, that's okay. And I actually went back to it the next day. And I
Oh,
thought, let me
look
test
at
my
this.
knowledge of the different parts of the wing. I did touch it, but I brought lots of hand sanitizer and I washed my hands before I did anything else.
Yeah,
And I sort of thought about it. So yeah, so I wasn't able to extend the wing very much because it was dead for a while and stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, so I think, I mean, you can sort of quiz me here, see if, or I can, you can grade my quiz here, see if I got everything right. But it was pretty cool because it was actually like the feathers on all these different parts. I can't turn the page here. The feathers in all these different parts of it are all like making these. They're really nice for showing the overall shape because I can sort of get the contours of it. Because
Yep.
every sort of bunch of feathers was its own little lump that had its own little sort of contours and lines. And very nice. But yeah, and then so I had, and then I got to my watercolor paper page. I thought let's just go to town. Only you can't really see, can you? Well, you sort of can. Trying to get the iridescence on the feather. But here's the thing: was every feather is different,
Yes.
and I just kind of like, and I had like an hour, so I because I had some family visiting, so and they're not going to understand that I'm like drawing turkey roadkill. So yeah, so I was trying to like get. And I sort of like lift some of the feathers that were on top of them to see if there's ones, but I couldn't see all the way down, so I couldn't really get the full thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was a very cool opportunity.
What a great rabbit hole. This is an outstanding rabbit hole. This is really exciting. It's so much fun when something gets, and look at the little diagrams of how the primaries versus secondaries in profile view, in cross-section view here.
Yeah, I was interested in the fact that we have like the primaries and secondaries have obviously a very different structure to them. I didn't actually, when I drew in the shafts on these primaries in here, I wasn't actually looking at, I sort of noticed that the first few had the shafts, very close to the edge, but I need to go back, I need to I find it rather tricky. I'll look at it to see if the other primaries are actually the way that I drew them or if they're not, because maybe I got it wrong.
Fun.
But yeah, so that was fun. So, so anyway, yes, it's been very exciting.
Right. That's so much fun. That is really cool. Hey, Susan, thank you for unpacking that rabbit hole with us.
Well, thank you. I'm learning a lot about birds. It's very excellent.
That's great. Let's join Ann Chadwick from Point Blue Conservation Science.
Hi there, great to see everybody, and what a fun workshop today. So I'm still up in Vancouver, Canada, and it's just poppin' spring here. There's so many blossoms and huge trees and rhododendrons and azaleas. And so I was in the park and just captured this tree, and the circle and square are post-hoc. So I just did that today.
Yeah.
To your inspiration.
And isn't it interesting how they change how the page fits together?
Definitely. I mean, because they were just floating out there and it didn't really make sense. And now they feel like cool little insets. And shout out to Evea for helping me understand a little bit of botany so I could draw in the leaves that are actually fallen off one side of this blossom and this flower. And so I could see inside without, sort of
that's
taking
great.
it apart.
That's great.
So that was fun. And then I've got to thank you so much, Jack, because thanks to you and your Educators Forum, Nature Journal Educators Forum, I met Bea Martin, who is up here. She lives here in Richmond near Vancouver, and she is giving a class on Saturdays. So I showed up and I went early and met her, and she's fantastic. She's a scientific illustrator. She's a world traveler. She's a teacher. So her class, we were in this beautiful little park that has a bog, and she gave us, I think, just 10 minutes to run around and listen for different bird songs and do some metadata and look at some of the different birds, and they have black squirrels. It's just a morph of the, I think it's a Douglas squirrel. And then we played with values and stuff, but it was just such a fun class and so great to meet her. So, you know, this community, it's amazing no matter where you are. So thanks for that.
Hey, how fun that you were able to get together.
Yeah. And then yesterday in the park, it was, there were goslings and mallard ducklings, so Canada geese. And I tried to capture some of their different, they have these stubby little wings that are so funny. And you could actually see in their coloring, like where their leg goes. It's darker where their leg goes up into their little body.
Yes. Yeah.
It was just amazing. And the wood ducks.
I like the one wiggling its wings. The little one sort of rearing up and giving the wings.
Yeah, the little stubby wings. And I have another one to show you in a sec. But the wood ducks in Stanley Park are not afraid of people. So they just come right up to you and cruise around right in front of you. So that's a lot of fun.
Spectacular. So hard to kind of track where all those white lines go on them.
Yeah, yeah. And that was done live. So, you know, I'm so used to working from photographs that it's a little bit hard to do it live. But then, so these, at first I drew these and these just looked like blobs. So I decided I'll just draw what I see and not make up little defined heads and tails and everything, because they were just blobs kind of sitting all together. And then their little sibling came by. So they're just so funny with their little wings.
That's adorable. That's adorable. Yeah,
Fun,
when you
Mark,
see a
'cause I
little
know
bird
other-
blob, draw a little bird blob. Oh, look at these guys. How fuzzy and cute.
Yeah. And they all just, I swear, they were only about 2 meters, maybe 3 meters from me. And they were just lined up looking right toward me. It was just too perfect. So I just had a great time.
Oh, that's really fun. That's really fun. That sort of blending you're doing with the pencil also really helps get that sense of the fuzzosity. Ah, yes, check this out.
Hey, extra credit, please.
Oh, bonus points for the Puffin P. Bonus points for the Puffin P. Yes, that is great. That's really cool.
So what a great workshop today. Thank you so much for all you do, and everybody out there in Nature Journal land, support Jack if you can, please. I so appreciate all that you're doing and how generous you are. So thank you.
And thank you so much. And also just want to send out another shout out to you and the people at Point Blue Conservation Science for the work that you are doing to help us understand bird populations in a way that we can conserve them better. If people aren't familiar with, if this is your first time meeting Anne and hearing about Point Blue, look them up online. It's an incredible bird conservation organization that Anne is heading up. And we are in your debt for what you bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Let's join Ray Bonto, then Jack. Ray Bonto, it's great to see you. You can now unmute, and I'll bring you into the spotlight here. Here we go.
Hi.
Hi there. Let me remove my spotlight and see what's happening in your journal.
I've almost never followed layout, as you know, but
yeah, we're the same way.
but I like playing with it.
Great. And it's interesting just to think of compositions as a project. Oh, this is neat. Yep, that big vertical box connects those behavior postures. That's really neat. This is a cool addition with those frames and zones behind those puffins.
Hey, I forgot. Did you ever see this?
I did not. I did not.
Perhaps you went there.
Wow.
If I did show it, but
Ooh, 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 ooh. Really rich colors in there. Nice
Yeah, it was like
measurements.
that.
It's a
So someone walking by wouldn't notice.
yeah. And then you blow it up to that size, and everybody walking by, sees your drawing, and they go, oh, what a beautiful flower. Oh yeah, Avea is pointing out we've got some really nice measurements here using the metric system here. And is this centimeters or millimeters, the size of that?
Centimeters.
This is cool. This beautiful job of handling the saturation of colors on those petals. Tone paper is so much fun.
Yeah.
Nice work. Nice, strong work. What else has been happening in your book there?
Well, that. Beech nut trees.
I remember you showing us these, that there's that little subtle shadow on the side of those trunks really rounds them out.
Thank you. Went to a place called. Oh no, you saw this last time.
That cool coot.
Well, but
It's so cootie.
yeah, yeah, we went back there to that same place. This time, instead of seeing mallard babies, we saw
Green.
Canada goose babies.
Oh, let's see. Oh, very cool. This is really cool. Oh, how far away is this pond from you?
About half an hour.
What a great source for critters. That's really fun. And and your swan is back there.
Yeah. That was just the side. Side note, but that wasn't the main focus. The main where these babies.
They're adorable. Boy, this is really fun. You really know we're in springtime with all of these little goslings poking up in everybody's journal. Nice metadata. Oh, those views of those little goslings are great.
Say hello. Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Hey, Ray Bonto, thank you so much for showing those. Arpan, great to see you.
Good to see you, Jack. How are you?
Ask him.
We're doing really well. We're doing very, very well here.
Good.
I spent the weekend taking a wilderness medicine class, and so I was sketchnoting throughout the whole thing. That was a lot of fun, and could break out on my lunch break and run out, and there was near a beautiful lighthouse, and so I got a little bit of good outside time.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Good
Jack,
to
I
see
want
you.
to ask you something.
Yes.
It's generally about art, really. So I've seen a lot of people on YouTube using tools like projectors and digital tools for their artistic works, for their as aids, but then they paint on their own, but it's the drawing that they need their help on. Now I want to know, as from an artist's point of view, what's your opinion on this? Do you think using too much of tools or aids is like a is like cheating, or would you call them less of an artist because they're not expressing themselves in a very genuine way? What's your opinion?
In my opinion, and this is something that different people have different opinions on.
Yes.
I think it's all good.
Yes.
You know, if you look at some of the works of, you know, great Dutch masters, and you analyze the angles on tables, it's clear that a bunch of them were actually using optics to draft their original picture,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so they were using camera lucida systems and things like that to draft out to get the original sketch down on canvas. And nobody's telling them that they're not real artists.
Mhm.
But it's kind of fun that we can kind of forensically figure out that that's what they were doing. I think it is all good. So what if it makes you happy, do it, right? And that, you know, there are some people who say like, well, but you didn't draw it. And you could say to those people, yeah, but you didn't grind your own pigments, right? You didn't make your own pencil. Like, oh, like you're not, you know, baking your own vine charcoal. Well, that's not real, right? So just that, I think that the authenticity is in the experience of the artist. Ivea is pointing out, yeah, like, oh, you didn't chew your own wood pulp into paper yourself, right? So I think we just need to kind of, you know, simmer down and enjoy it. And there's different things that you see and you learn by doing your own freehand drawing, but maybe what really gets you excited is light, and you want to fast forward to that part. Well, great, go do that. I'd say it's all good. On my cabinet, in my cabinet back there, I've got a camera lucida. Right? So that's this little thing that I can look through it, and it can take what I'm seeing there and project down on my paper. If we look over to my left, going over to my left, a little bit further. Hold on. There it is. You see kind of coming into focus, I have a hold on, my screen just went blank. Oh, good, we're still here. Over there, I have a microscope, and my microscope has a camera lucida arm. Now, actually, maybe here's the easy way to do this without, I tried to turn my camera to back. I'm gonna go to, I need to. But one more thing. There it is. Turn it up. Oh no! Now that. This is upside down. How do I? Sorry, keep. Well, let's just go with Jack's upside down cam for him. Oh no! It keeps bumping out. One more time. All right. So now I'm blurry. Come on, focus you. Focus. That's better. Now I'm going to minimize your screen for just a moment here. So over here, I have a microscope. And I'm going to take my little microscope cover off of that. And I have a light over here. And I have I look through my microscope and I see whatever is on the microscope tray right here. But there is, there's a little lever that I can move. And if I move that lever, then this little piece right here is a little arm that has a mirror on it. And so whatever I put here gets reflected up into this mirror, bounces off the mirror into a little lens right here, and into this eyepiece here. So I can, by balancing the light, I can get my left eyepiece showing me the bug, my right eyepiece showing me my piece of paper down here and my hand and my pencil. So what most of the illustrations of insects that were done in the, most of the illustrations of insects that were, oh, that's how my hair looks on the side. That's lovely. Hold on, I'm gonna go back to the front view because it's more flattering. Most of the illustrations in my Sierra Field Guide of insects were done where what I essentially did is I looked at my insects under my camera lucida and I traced them. I traced those insects and then I painted on top of that. And so I think, you know, using all sorts of different strategies. Sometimes, you know, I've been really puzzled by things, and there's all sorts of kind of technical hacks. You can take a photograph of something, then you can even take that photograph and you can put it, you know, into Photoshop. And in Photoshop, I can turn it into a black and white photograph. And now I'm just looking at the values and then thinking like, oh, I wasn't really noticing that. And then you can take a photograph of your own thing and compare, then turn that to black and white. And then you're seeing your values in different ways. There's all sorts of different things that people can do with technology. I have a drawing tablet here, and sometimes I do illustrations on that with a little stylus. And it's okay. So I would say I take a yes and approach.
Thank you. When you said Dutch Masters, I had seen a film called Vermeer, and it showed the technique that he used. Not that he specifically mentioned that technique, but it's someone else who had invented. He didn't know how to paint or anything, but he wanted to. He just wanted to have a go at Vermeer, how he might use it. So he invented his own tool, and then he, as he was going through the process of color matching and everything, because he was not a painter, not an artist or anything, but he just invented a neat little tool to help him with the Vermeer painting. So he was doing that kind of a thing, and then it appeared at one point that because of some of the angles, it was not possible to actually understand from a human eye. You can only do it, that angles that you mentioned, if you're using that kind of a tool. That bend will not happen unless you're using some kind of an optics. So yeah, it's an amazing film to watch. It's more like a documentary called Vermeer. And
yeah. I'll look for that. It's, you know, whatever, you know, so sometimes people decide that the way that they're doing things, because they've invested so much time in doing things that way, that must be the right way. And if somebody else is not doing that, then you're cheating, you're not a real watercolorist, you know, or whatever it is. I tend to think that different people have different goals and different objectives at different times. And if it's working, that's great.
Thank you. Sorry I took a bit of time, but
No. That's actually why we're here. That's why we're here. It's these discussions, and now there's a whole bunch of other people that are going to go check out Vermeer. Somebody found something called The Last Vermeer. Is that the thing you're looking at, or was it called Vermeer?
I have to check.
Tim's Vermeer. And Chadwick says.
No, I don't think this is the one I watched, but I'll find it.
Okay. Cool.
I'll find it and let you know next class. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank
Hey,
you.
it's really great to see you.
Thank you.
Same here.
Let's bop back to the United States. Jack, how are you doing today? Oh, hold on. You can now unmute. There we go.
There we go. Hey, so the other day I did, I've done a couple sketches of in bloom daffodils, and now I did one that was all shriveled up, but it was also very interesting. So here's that's from the front. That's like the crinkly part of, that's where the petals used to be. That's from the back. That's from the side. And I have a little cut here, and that's where I did a little cross section. And it looks like either Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
It looks like either Mickey Mouse or someone yelling like. And then here's a little ladybug I found and some observations.
Oh.
And then I did another little cut right there, and that's the stem.
Dead daffodils. Oh, wow. This is really, this is such a great example of visual thinking strategies. We've got these cross sections going on. I wonder, it reminds me of using words to kind of describe things that are hard to show with sketches. And then the relationship between all these things sort of clearly shown with these connecting arrows. Your visual thinking skills are really developing. This is exciting to see, Jack.
And then
also looks to me like it was fun, right?
Yeah, the painting
really
and the
like
shading was also really fun. And then I did this little nest in our so in our forsythia, it's like a huge forsythia bush that like wraps around our property, and me and my mom like cut a path. So there was already kind of like a path already made, but we made it so you can walk through it. So it's like there's like there's like stuff that goes over. So there's like a roof of forsythia, but you can go through it. And there's lots of bird nests and that you can look at just by turning your head. And I haven't finished this one yet, but I thought this was really funny. I found this I looked it up. It's a red freshwater mite. And I as I always do, I took little measurements, and he's 3 millimeters long. That's what I measured. And then when I went inside to see what he was, because I didn't know he was a mite. So when I looked him up in a bug book, in the description, the measurement was 3 millimeters, and that's what I measured.
Oh, kaboom.
So I got it spot on with that. And then
good measuring. And also I love that you're using the metric system. As biologists, that's the way we roll. That's great.
And
so useful.
Some quick sketches of little groundhog and bunny that was in the yard. So I didn't put the pencil down, but that was him on his hind legs. And then he was looking away, and then get down. So he's down in the grass, and then he looks up again.
Oh, that's great. Oh, this is so cool.
And then a little bunny.
These, like, you can't make stuff like this up. When people like sort of make you think of like the views you're supposed to see, like the view of the groundhog. Oh, look at the O. Everybody check out the O in groundhog. Uh-huh. That's right. That's the way we roll, like the P in puffin, the O in groundhog. But like when your groundhog, you sticks its head down, you're just sort of seeing the groundhog lump. We follow the groundhog lump. But no photographer would ever photograph that. And people who are sketching just from photographs never see that view. And they don't understand as much about what the beastie looks like. That's really cool.
Yeah, and then I did some more sketches from books. Audubon's Cara Cara, I think that's how you say it.
Ooh.
Raven, little night heron, and then I forget that one. I'm drawing a blank on that.
An egret, maybe cattle egret, or
yes, cattle egret. That's what it was. Cattle egret.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to go, but my mom picked some really cool books out, like for 50 cents at a book sale. I got this really cool book, like really cool paintings to look through.
Show us illustrations in this.
Yeah, it's got really cool paintings. Like this is where I did the Cara Cara.
Oh, this is nice work. This is nice work. Oh, and it's also really fun. I love that rooster's tail train hanging down the side of the text block and out on the bottom of the page. You can tell that illustrator was just having fun with this. Like, I'm going to make this book my playground.
Hawks and eagles.
Oh, nicely done. Yeah, these are really solid illustrations. It's so nice to see a book where the illustrators have actually obviously spent time carefully looking at the birds.
And then I had some more sketches. Oh yeah, so I found another hammerhead worm.
No way.
Dude, this last time I only got one sketch. This is my excuse. My little sister was with me journaling in her little journal. She's 3, but it was so funny to see her doing that. And then she ran off. She wanted to go inside, so I got to pack everything up and chase after her. So I only got one sketch in last time, and when I finally got back, he was gone. This time I got tons of sketches in, and I titled it "The Return of the Hammerhead Worm."
Dun dun dun! Oh, Jack, this is cool. Look at this. Look at this.
I added these little circles and stuff after this class.
Yep. Look at this. Then zooming in and zooming in. Oh, this is really exciting. This is really exciting. What an interesting critter. So for folks who aren't familiar with the hammerhead word, this is a terrestrial planarian. It is a really, really interesting little beastie. So was this found in your house, near your house?
Yes, it was in our butterfly garden, and near where it was last time. It was under one of the big brick stepping stones. So I actually found some mushrooms, and I was like, oh, those are cool. I'm gonna sketch those. I've got toned paper now, so I can mess with that. And I was like, I'm just gonna look under the rock and see if there's a hammerhead worm. Lift it up.
That's right.
So that was crazy. And I put
you are such the naturalist. This is cool. This is cool.
I just put it in my satchel. I didn't know what I'd use it for, but like the little box of floss, like long floss I got at the dentist once, for like tagging plants if there's like tons of other plants and you want to like follow one plant throughout the week or whatever. So I put, with the floss, I put a little circle in the dirt where he last disappeared, and I've been flipping rocks ever since. I mean, I found him on the 8th of this month, so that was really fun. And then I did from a book a little yellow warbler and a owl.
Nice. Good use of the tone of the color of the paper, and then picking out highlights on that owl there. Oh, lovely texture. And also on those streaks on the yellow warbler, I really get a sense of the roundness of that thing's chest as those lines are wrapping around there.
Yeah, and I mean, I was literally like Like I didn't.
Oh man,
that
I wish you
hammerhead
could have
worm.
been there, bro.
And
That's
then I was so
fantastic.
after he escaped in the dirt, I was flipping other rocks around the area to see if there were any more. And I found this really weird bug. I'd never seen it before. Super bright colors. So, and he was really fast. And I think he had legs. So I had to do the color from memory later because I jotted down some notes about the color. But I've never seen him before.
Oh, wow. Oh, interesting. And it was very shiny. What was its body fairly hard?
Yeah, it was. I actually touched it with my pencil a little bit because that's what I did with the hammerhead worm, and he's obviously a worm, so no invertebrate. But this guy definitely had probably exoskeleton, but it was hard when I touched it with the tip of my pencil.
I am going to share a picture with you and see if this looks right. Check this out. I'm wondering if you might have found the wire worm.
Yeah, that looks pretty similar. He had a black head and little fangs. Little fangs and definitely black head, and he was very fast. And when I flipped him over, I didn't want to hurt him, so I flipped him over, and I think he had legs. It seemed like he had legs because he was very fast, very vibrant colors, vibrant reds and yellows and oranges in the cracks of his segments. Yeah, that looks like it, except not as vibrant colors. That picture right there.
So this is the larva of a click beetle.
Yeah. Or is a click beetle the little guys that they're tight, and then if you touch them, they go like click?
No, let's see, here's a picture of a click beetle.
Oh yeah, I've seen those before, and they do that little click thing where they jump up in the air.
Yeah, if you roll them over onto their back, they arch their back and then they'll flip themselves in the air. You can tell them because their elytra up here, I mean their thorax have these little spines right back here. So we'll go to another one and see, show us your spines. This one has smaller spines.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, that definitely might be it.
But they're really cool little dudes.
Yeah.
And those are larval click beetles.
Huh. That's cool. And then
what a great discovery. I'm going to stop my share and let's go back to your cam. Yeah. Yeah. This is when I looked at that, I was thinking to myself, I'm thinking click beetle.
Yeah. And then for the book.
Nice way of showing also the reflectiveness on this, the shiny.
Yeah. And then I did this little Western tanager earlier today from the book.
Oh yeah. And Chadwick, I'm going to put Ann just in here for a second. And let's see that hand gesture again. I'm feeling the same way. Yeah, that's so Ann really knows these birds from the.
I think that's my favorite bird, Jack, young Jack. That's beautiful. I love it.
Oh,
Great use of tone paper too. Loving what you're doing.
really fun. Really, really fun.
And then that's it.
Oh,
I've got one more page in this journal. Then I'm on to a new one I just got yesterday.
you're ready to roll. You're ready to roll. This is cool. So Jack, this was an amazing share. The natural history observations that you make, really, really, really exciting. Really exciting. Your ability to draw these things also developing very strongly. But I'm as a biologist, the thing my mind is most blown by is your naturalist hunger, where you're finding, you're exploring, you're just kind of getting into the business of all these critters. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. Let's join Hashi and see what's going on in your journal. You can unmute and I will add you into the spotlight. Hi there. Good to see you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I think this is my first sharing in one of these meetings. I want to just say thank you for this class. I think composition is something I actually have a sort of graphic design background. So composition is something that I love. And I just wanted to share the page that I did today during this class. So I was sort of like sketchnoting and sketching along as we went.
Oh, I love the little map up there too.
Yeah. And at the end, I had this sort of like empty corner that wasn't really working. So I did a quick Google on the range of these birds and added in a little map. And I just wanted to, I know that you talk about maps.
Well, actually, go back to that little page again and just sort of notice that, remember, we want some things, is sort of this variety of things and shapes and sizes and elements. I
like the way this worked out too, this sort of switch.
Yeah. But if Hashi decided to put a box around the map, it would be much more same, everything's in a box up at the top. Just sort of imagine that with a box. It would be very tempting to do because other elements that you've done, the boxes really worked. And so then you throw in another box. But by having it out of the box, that is giving you more variation on the page, and I think was also a really effective, a really good decision.
Thank you. And I want to just speak to the fact that I think that a good composition communicates the material better to someone else. And I know nature journaling is a lot just about ourselves and our learnings, but when we want to share with other people, I find, I don't post anything on social media, and I love looking at people's nature journals. But a page that is well composed communicates so much better to me as an outside viewer. I understand and I can follow it and I can read it. And so I feel like, even though I wrote down what you said, don't let layout be a burden. It should be fun. If it distracts from actual journaling, drop it, of course. And not all nature journaling is to be shared with other people. But composition is really important as a communication tool. Yes. So I really appreciate you doing this class.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for your reflections on that also as a graphic designer. I absolutely agree with you that it makes it easy to look at the page, scan the page, understand it, grok it, and get it.
And I just wanted to share a link. I'm just putting it in the chat. It's from your website. It's a session that you did with Kristen Muser, which I don't know, it was probably a few years ago now, which I found really helpful. She talks about different sort of ways to put different blocks on the page, and it's worth revisiting. I've revisited many times, but I feel like she's comes up with some good ideas of layouts and ways to just sort of like tell the story in a way that is cohesive and communicates well. So I just put that link in there to the YouTube of the session you did with her.
Fantastic. Yeah, Kristen Muser is wonderful. Thank you so much, Hashi. And please welcome to the group. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to encourage you, as you feel comfortable, to please share more.
Thank you.
Great to see you. And let's join Ivea, the mad botanist. Hello there.
Hello there. Seeing Anne reminded me, if people still are drawing any seabirds, then to tag your seabirds with Point Blue shorebirds and Migratory Shorebird Project and some others. So I was using that as an excuse to practice.
Oh, nice. Look at that. These really have the gestalt of the birds. These really feel like these species.
Thank you. I might have such a hard time telling them apart when I see them scuttling all over the beach. So my hope is this will help me to determine them.
And hold it down slightly so we can see the little smorgasbord across the top. There we go. Ooh, I love moments like this. That's really fun.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you for having us do that. And I'm going to be using that to practice as many as I can that are living near Chrissy Field. And so those were, I like when I'm doing those to do those from iNaturalist photos that are close by to where I live. Because then that way I have more of an idea of what I'm going to see in my direct area. And then not on these, but on others, I can also choose postures that aren't exactly ordinary when you're taking pictures. But here are some more here's some more field work sort of things. So this one looks okay, mostly because I practiced in advance with my sheet of ones that I was trying to draw. I got assigned to go to Mustard Hill on Friday. And it's in the most impacted spot in my site. So I can't easily remove the mustards because of their tap roots. And I've gone there before with my pickaxe and just wound up wearing myself out without getting anything out of the ground. So my goal is to try it again with what you call it.
The weed wrench?
That's the one. Thank you, the weed wrench. And they finally told me what kind it is too. They told me that they're uprooters. So I can find that picture in a second too. I wrote it down. So then I'm contemplating, I'm kind of annoyed because when the rains began and when the little seedlings began coming up, I said, should I take care of those? And I was told to go somewhere else. And now the seedlings are big and impossible to remove. And I'm thinking next year, yeah, I'm thinking next year, I'm going to just rebel a little bit. I'll even come in an extra day if I have to, but I'm going to take care of these mustard seedlings while they're seedlings and before they get big. I mean, I think I learned my lesson with the hemlock.
That's right. That's right. And so does the uprooter come in big sizes and little sizes, or is there
It does. And the one that I looked up, I think is, I'm going to get the weed wrench light because
wrench light. Okay.
That'll be easier for me to carry around without straining myself. And yeah, if I've used these before, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if I used the light one, but there was a time when the Golden Gate National Parks were filled with a lot more French broom, and we would have work days on the hillsides for hours pulling up the French broom, and it was so satisfying. So I'm looking forward to using it again, and hopefully it's going to work. And then here are I was especially excited because on the Friday I was at your warbler workshop first, drawing warblers with you, and then I went out into the field, and I'd gone to priority 1 and spotted a couple of birds playing around in one of the nearby bushes and was trying to draw them, but they were far enough away that it was hard for me to get a good glimpse of them. Plus they were in the shrubs themselves. And I'd left my binoculars at home to clean them and now they disappeared. So I was very unhappy. But I was drawing them and I couldn't figure out what kind of bird would have these colors, but then this darkness on the face. And so I was drawing that. Then this little, I think it's an Allen's, but either way, this adorable little hummingbird came, and I've only ever seen these in pictures before, and it was so adorable. So what usually happens when I'm in the field is I always do at least one blind contour because I'm staring at the critter. So that was my blind contour of the hummer. And then there was also this one hawk that kept showing up like in 4 different trees, screaming into the abyss over and over and over again. So I kept on seeing like this hawk going, Kia! Or actually I can't really imitate it very well, but it was, the red-tailed screech. And then it was above me in the tree while I was trying to look at these birds screaming. And then it flew off and a hummingbird came at it. And then later on I was leaving and again.
What a great bird day.
It was. I was so happy.
That's so cool.
And at one point, while the bird was grooming themselves, they flicked out their wing and I saw this white stripe along the wing and I got really excited. It was just for a second.
Now, did this have more of a greenish back or a grayish back?
I was trying to determine that too. It had a green tinge to it. And so I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but something kind of funny occurred to me after that. At first I was thinking, what bird has that mask on the face and looking at ones with masks. And then afterwards I was thinking about our conversation a while ago about eucalyptus stuff getting on the bird's faces. And I remembered something funny during my practice, like just not very long ago. That was one of the things I actually wound up drawing. Was I went on iNaturalist and I happened to find a picture of Townsend's warbler with stuff all over its face and decided to draw it for a fun challenge.
Oh, fun. And also nice stripe wrap on that.
Oh, thank you. So I don't know if that could have been a Townsend's or not, because I couldn't get close enough to see, and the back might be a different color anyways, but it made me think maybe that was something gunky on the face, and then I don't know. So
and was let's go for that the orange crown warbler there. Let's check that out. Oh, this is so cool because it's such a subtle little bird. This is fun. This is fun.
I had the hardest time trying to get the right color.
It is subtle birds are so hard to do. Subtle birds are so hard to do. That's really, really fun. Is it possible that your little friend with yellow on it and the little cap could have been like that?
Ooh. Yes, maybe, yeah, maybe so.
So we've got getting some yellow in the wings there. So the lesser goldfinch has these. They've got a little pale beak. Here's another little lesser, and big white stripes going on in the wings. And so that's
oh my God,
that's one possibility out there. Was it bobbing around in a tree, or was it kind of hanging out in a more open area on an exposed perch? And was it alone or in a group?
There were two of them. One of them was, I don't know the name of the plant, and I didn't want to get close and scare them away to find out, but it was it was a shorter plant that had some kind of fluff coming out of it, and I couldn't tell if they were looking for fluff or for insects. And the other one was in a pink flowering currant bush that was right next to that one. So it kind of big, but not exactly as huge as a tree, but definitely on the bigger side of the shrubs. So that's where, yeah. I think you might be muted strangely, although you're not actually muted. I just can't hear you. Oh dear, still cannot hear you.
What about now?
Yes.
Okay, good. This behavior is sounding kind of goldfinchy to me. So I have a high lesser goldfinch index of suspicion. But this is so cool to see you, like, also, like, you're just taking a big brave step out into the land of let's go sketch birds, and you're being brave and getting your, even when they're not posing for you, you're just going like, my head is tucked back. Okay, I'm drawing the head that is tucked back. You get a little glimpse of the wing. We get just a little sketch of the wing. This is such a useful way to take notes. And I also like the red tail, you know,
that bird cracked me up all day long. And so what I'm going to try to do is, thank you. I'm going to try practice drawing the lesser goldfinch, and I'm going to try to find pictures of them grooming themselves specifically so that I can try to draw that.
Nice.
What I was trying to do with the red tail is because even though we've practiced in class before drawing them flying overhead, I still need to, I'm rusty. So I've been trying to practice that too from pictures, just try to get the shape.
Oh, good idea. Very good idea.
And then the next day I was over with some friends on Mother's Day, and then there were some house finches dancing around, except that their song was different from my usual confetti all over the house. So that was kind of fun. And that was only in Berkeley, so it's not exactly far away. And then I decided to see exactly how long they sat still for me to draw them, because they didn't really sit still at all. And they might sit still and long enough to sing their song once, and then they would dart off. And their song was about this long. So they would do that. There was at least a pair, possibly two pairs, darting through the trees over and over again, like sugar high kids. And I'm just going like, oh my God, stop moving.
Nice color sketches, and color notes, as well as song sketches. That's cool to see.
Thank you. So yeah, just thank you for for everything. And the last thing I was going to share is that I'm trying to do more sketches on the side, even if I have to include a lot of words. So then drawing like how one mustard comes out and how the others snap off, so I can figure out how to do it better. And then also there was one more place that I forgot to mention when I was making my list, and that was Xerxes' playground. So that's another place that now I must draw. And I call it the Xerxes playground because this is where I find the deerweed growing on the site.
Oh, but now without its nominal butterfly.
Exactly.
For folks who don't know, the Xerxes blue is now an extinct species of little beautiful blue butterfly that once danced through the Bay Area here. Was that a name that you coined for it?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. It just sort of makes all the landscape around you feel more personal and special.
Thank you.
So, that's really some wonderful journal entries there. And also I'm appreciating the diversity of ways that you're exploring all these different little things. Here's a fast bird sketch, here's block diagram, here's a cross section. Here's you're using all these different nature journaling skills and mixing them together on these study sites. That's really neat.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the Nature Journal Club, we would like to send you a weed wrench light.
Yes.
We're going to send you, because you are doing incredible things to take care of the environment around you. So we would like to, and you also do just so much for this community. We say a lot of thank yous in a lot of different ways. And now we're going to say thank you by sending you a weed wrench.
I'm so happy. Thank you. And if anybody lives in the Bay Area and needs one, just call me and I'll come very happily and use it. Just thank you. I'm sorry.
At some point, you can do a demo for people on how they work.
Yes, I will. It'll be so
Right.
okay. I'm sorry. I have not been this excited since I got my my pickaxe. So I'm so happy. Great. Okay, Anne has got a good question. When I get my weed wrench, I'll ask people to help me name it. I'll ask. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, that's right. This is great. We are as a community are really grateful to everything that you give us, and in addition, everything that you give the natural environment around you. You're an amazing role model for how we can walk on this earth. And with deep respect and appreciation, folks, let's give it up for Avea Moore. Everybody, thank you all for being here with us today. And I hope that you got some useful strategies and ideas and community out of our time together. Thank you all very much. With respect, gratitude, appreciation, and friendship, we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.